Welcome back, and thank you for subscribing to my Speedway channel down below. Today we're going to talk about a really cool topic. We're going to have a two-part series, and we're going to talk about the 1982 World Championship at the Los Angeles Coliseum and the race number 14 between Bruce the Fox Penhall.
But my hands are slipping off the wheel. Now the tables have turned. Now I'm up all night. I'm picturing you.
And Kenny Carter. That was the most controversial race in Speedway history.
Like a full moon, and I'm up all night, howling at you. Tables have turned.
The big race at the Los Angeles Coliseum, the 1982 World Championship. It was race 14. Penhall was in gate 2 and Carter was in gate 3. And the race started.
As the takes go up, Penhall makes another superb start. Out straight into Carter's leg, goes past the corner, puts Carter back, and this allows Peter Collins to roar out of the first corner of the lead.
Penhall had what would consider a very terrible start. He went ahead and started in third place. It was Collins in first and Crump in second. He was in third and Carter was in fourth.
Now the tables have turned. Now I'm up all night. I'm picturing you acting like a fool. I'm on the other side. You're like a full moon, and I'm up all night, howling at you.
Penhall finally chased down Crump for second place and picked him off going in the turn. And Carter went ahead and tucked behind Bruce Penhall and followed.
Inside completely, and look at him banging into Penhall. Carter on the inside, another one for Penhall.
Certainly, as far as this incident is concerned, this is where the needle starts, and there's certainly been plenty where these two are concerned. Watch the bumping and boring, elbows everywhere, they really are tussling. Carter almost pushes Penhall over here, Penhall losing his line, but he...
Kenny wanted that number 1 spot really bad, and he was riding aggressive. He was not to be denied. He went ahead and banged handlebars with Bruce Penhall, and Bruce Penhall said he even drove his elbow into his chin. So Carter was driving really aggressive. Some say it's just Speedway, hey, it's racing, but Carter was riding very aggressive. But Carter made a big mistake. He should have shut the door on Bruce Penhall. From the reversed angle, you could actually see that Carter went out too wide. When I raced Bruce Penhall, and when you race Bruce Penhall, you have to ride a tight line and not give him any room. And guess what Kenny Carter did? He gave Bruce Penhall lots of room. He rode wide on turn like 3 and 4, and he came out wide. And Penhall actually passed him in the turn. Penhall's an amazing rider, and he passed him. And that's when the controversy completely started. As Penhall was in the lead, and it was Carter's fault in a way because Carter went wide. He shouldn't have done that. He should have stayed tight and blocked Bruce Penhall, but he didn't. He went wide, and then Penhall was in the lead. He has the right. And Carter was actually pinned in between the wall and Penhall. And probably, I would have probably just backed off a little and then recouped. But Carter, just being the guy he is, he just went full bore and he ran out of room. There was nowhere else to go. And he went ahead and crashed and went underneath the crash wall, the air fence. And the race was stopped. And that's when the controversy began.
Penhall losing his line, but he holds on very well. But that incident does seem to take Carter off his line. He leaves the door open, as they say, and Penhall is now starting to drive through the gap. Now Carter is struggling to stop Penhall taking the lead. Here comes the moment, any moment now, and the evidence from this angle, I'm sure, will show that Carter and Penhall did not touch. There it is. Penhall is leading, and I don't think in any way that you can blame him after seeing that film. Central Sports certainly now believes that the referee was right. Penhall is surely clear.
But Carter, just being the guy he is, he just went full bore and he ran out of room. There was nowhere else to go. And he went ahead and crashed and went underneath the crash wall, the air fence. Heat number 14 came to a stop. And there was a crash. They had to see if Kenny Carter was all right. And he was all right, thank goodness. And the race had to be restarted. But under the rules, there had to be an exclusion because somebody caused the crash. And the referee went ahead and deemed that Kenny Carter was the cause of that crash. And Kenny Carter went ballistic. He could not believe it. He was so mad. He said, "Let me call the ref on the phone." And he talking to the ref and pleading his case. And then Ivan Major, his manager, who made some mistakes. Actually, I researched this. Ivan Major, he should have run a Carlisle tire. Carlisle was a tire that we all rode in the 70s, and they worked really nice. And Ivan Major said, "No, we're going to go with a Dunlap." And actually, I think Kenny Carter was riding the wrong tire. He's riding the Dunlap. And that's because Ivan Major made a big mistake in telling
Kenny Carter, what happened?
Bruce Penhall just took my leg straight from under me, and the front wheel went out loose no jump.
Are you all right?
Well, a bit winded.
You've been excluded. Do you have a reaction?
In part 2, we're going to hear from both sides at that night, Kenny Carter and Bruce the Fox Penhall. We're going to hear their sides of why this crash occurred. And also, we're going to go ahead and hear a little bit about Bruce Penhall's take on it many years later on the Haunted Saloon, Terry Ike Clanton's Haunted Saloon. And his special guest was Bruce the Fox Penhall. So let's go ahead and hear from Bruce.
So I go out and Kenny and I knock into each other, and he ends up in the hot dog stand.
Right, yeah.
You know.
That's on YouTube too, by the way.
Yeah. I didn't touch him. I mean, I did earlier in the race, but
Down the Speedway, you guys hit him.
no, we were knocking it. His elbow was up under my chin, and it was brutal. But where he got off, I did not touch him. And we went into the cinema, or to the big screen with Chips, because they had 23 cameras there.
Mm-hmm.
I think he was going to have a little bit of me that night. Yeah. Kenny's dad.
Yeah.
I was ready for Kenny. I was ready for him. You know, the hot dog stand was good enough. I was ready to put him in it again. You know.
But you didn't touch him when he was
Didn't touch him. Did not touch him. I did not leave him in your room. And so the camera showed it. And in fact, they zoom in on it really close, and there was only an inch.
Yeah.
But you know, he ran out of racetrack, and he was going for it. And his plea was to try to get me as the cause of the restart. See, if a crash like that happens, you know, somebody's got to point the finger at somebody because they can restart.
Right.
And if you're the cause of that restart, you're excluded.
Right.
Well, it could have gone any way. And the referee was up there pretty high, and he made the right decision, in my eyes.
And he retired as the world champion right there in 1982.
So, tell me, what do you think? Did Bruce Penhall cause that crash, or did Kenny Carter cause that crash by himself? It depends who you're talking to. I talk to a lot of Kenny Carter fans, and they tell me that Bruce Penhall caused that crash. And I saw the crash myself, and it looked like Kenny Carter should have backed off a little bit, and he caused his own crash. And the Kenny Carter fans are just crazy. It's been like 35, 38 years, and they will go ahead and yell at me, and they're screaming, and they're crazy. They still want a replay of that race. They want a rerun. I'm sorry, it's over like 35 years ago. So it depends who you talk to, if Bruce Penhall or Kenny Carter was right or wrong. But the most controversial race in Speedway history. Very exciting, and kind of happy it happened. It really made a lot of interesting drama. And the next video, we're gonna go ahead and hear from both Kenny and Bruce about the situation. I forgot to mention the race restarted, and Bruce Penhall won that race, and Kenny Carter was excluded. It so happened that Bruce Penhall won that world championship, the 1982 world championship, and he won the 1981 world championship in Wembley, England. And Bruce Penhall was the only back-to-back United States world champion, the first one at that time, and it's a very big accomplishment. And Bruce Penhall retired as a world champion. He went on to film that show, TV show called Chips. And Kenny Carter, he finished 5th place 3 times. Same thing, 5th place, 5th place. Well, that's it. The most controversial Speedway race in Speedway history. And we're going to do the part 2 interview with Kenny Carter and Bruce Penhall taking their side. So thank you so much for watching. I hope you enjoyed the vlog today. It was really fun. I mean, the most controversial race in Speedway history. Who could not want to see that one? So thank you so much. And there's lots of videos here. Let me get my hand up here that you can go ahead and watch next. And we'll try to get a Bruce Penhall video here. And please like, share, subscribe to the channel, the Speedway channel, and ring that bell.